नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः. எல்லாருக்கும் நமஸ்காரம். நாங்கள் மியூசிக் ஃபோரமில் இந்த வருஷம் கதாமிருதம், சங்கீத கதாமிருதம் அப்படிங்கிற டாப்பிக்கில் எவ்ரி இயர் வி ஹேவ் சம் தீம். தெரியாமல் இந்த டாபிக் எடுத்துட்டோம். ஏன்னா இவ்வளோ இருக்குன்னு எங்களுக்கு தெரியல. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஆஃப் ஆல் I was always wondering, suppose we had just one God. Actually, in one form of physics, we have only Advaita or அப்படி சொல்லலாம். But இவ்வளவு variations of the pantheons of gods that we have has given rise to so much of literature, so much of music, தன பாடல்கள். அண்ட் அவளுக்கு ஒரு இஷ்ட தேவதை தான். இப்போ அருணகிரிநாதன்னா மோஸ்ட்லி முருகன் தான். அதே போல் சிவபுராணம் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு பெரிய டாபிக் எடுத்துட்டு உள்ளே நுழைஞ்சு பார்த்தா பாடல் பெற்ற தலங்களே 275, 275. சரி, அதில் எதை போய் செலக்ட் பண்ணுறது? பிகாஸ் வி ஆல்ரெடி ஹேவ் so many. ஈவன் நம்ம கபாலீஸ்வரர் கோயிலும் திருவொற்றியூரும் திருவான்மியூரும் எல்லாம் பாடல் பெற்ற தலங்கள் தான். பட் for purposes of confining myself to this 1.5 hours, by the way, I will keep talking till I feel hungry. And I have a disclaimer here that doctors have extremely good capacity to withstand hunger. So நான் I was just wondering என்ன செய்யறதுன்னு தெரியல அப்படின்னு சொன்னபோது Shruti told me, why not we confine ourselves to the Panchabhuta Linga Kshetra Kritigal. And when we say Pancha, that sort of confines us to Dikshidhar alone, who has composed on all these kshetrams. But taking each as an element, Panchabhuta Linga Kshetramna, this element where we have the Akasha. We have Akasha Sambhutaha, Akashat Vayu, Vayor Agni, Agner Apaha, Adbhaya Prithvi. So in reverse direction, from the form of creation we have Akasha. From Akasha came Vayu, Vayu to Agni, Agni to Appu, that is water, and water to Prithvi, earth. But Nama Inniki, for purposes of this lecture, we will go in reverse direction. Anganam Vamato Gatihi, we will go in the opposite direction. So we start with Prithvi Lingam. Close to Chennai, there is a kshetram called Kanchipuram, which is renowned to be, for several millennia, renowned to be a seat of learning. And in fact, if you really analyze, if you take Tiruvanakkaval for example, or if you say Shankaran Kovil, you have a temple and around that the town or village. But if you take a place like Kanchipuram or Kumbakonam, there are very few kshetrams like this where you don't know which temple to choose. You have Ekambareswarar, you have Kamakshi, you have Paradaraja Perumal, so many temples within there are over 1,000. And if you go into visit some relative in Kanchipuram, chances are that you will see a temple in that house also. So worshipping elements is, of course, in our Hindu Sanatana Dharma, we worship everything. I mean, the thing I got concluded after all these, looking at Shivan worship versus these elements, you not just worship the elements but also animals, any form of living. Animals can be worshipping the Lord. You worship those who worship the Lord. Shivanadiyargaliyum you can worship. Ippudiyella there are so many stories interconnected, and worshipping the elements. Prithvi Lingam. Then in reverse you have Agni, Tiruvannamalai. Then Appu is Tiranakaval. Then Vayu Lingam Sri Kalahasti, and of course Chidambaram is the last Akasha Lingam. All living beings belong to these 5 elements and are made up out of those elements. It is said that Akasha or space gave rise to air, gave rise to fire, gave rise to water, and then to the earth. What is very significant is that Lord Shiva here is not worshipped only as the Lingam or Lord Shiva. He is worshipped as the element itself. Kanchipuram as a kshetram, I may not confine myself only to Ekambranatha. As a kshetram can be divided into 3. The Punya Koti, which is the Vishnu Sthalam, in the central portion which is Kamakshi, and that is Kamakoti, and Rudra Koti, which is the Ekambreshwara. Noteworthy here is that the 2 temples are separate. That is Ekambreshwara and Kamakshi. We will now sing a song by Muthuswami Dikshitar, the Ragam Bhairavi, Chintaya Makanda Moolakandam. So, when we approach a sthalam, a kshetram, there are several stories associated with that. It could be stories related to the sthalam, which is the Sivapuranam. It could be stories related to its construction, whether it is the Nayakas or the Cholas or the Hoysalas, whoever are Pallavas, whoever has constructed it. Or it could be stories related to the composers, the Padal Petra Talangal and what are the circumstances under which these composers have sung in praise of their Ishtadevata. Or again, it may be just stories related to the devotees, the Nayanmargal. So, in this case, Chintayamakandam Mulakandam is the Sthala Puranam is, there was a period when Parvathy and Shiva were in Kailasha, and Parvathy was in a very playful mood. And Shiva, as you know, in Kailasa is mostly in a trance. And Parvathy playfully closed his eyes. Actually in a trance, but probably eyes were open. He closed. Which eye nella kekadingo? 2 eyes were closed. And the story goes that this caused a lot of chaos. Because only if there is a balance of the various elements in the world, there can be peace. So devargal ellam bayandu poi, there was a lot of chaos. So Shivanukku theriyume udane kovam vandrum. So he cursed Parvathy. But again, in retrospect, all this for the good. So he said, you have to go down to the earth. I suppose for the celestials, the curse is to go down to earth. So as far as this story goes, she was cursed and she was sent first to Varanasi, and there met all the rishis there. They said, you do all the 32 pariharams. So she assumed the Annapurni Devi form, and she gave food. And when we say food, it's not just food for your stomach, but also knowledge. And from there, she was advised to come down south to the temple city. Temple city in the Solumbodhu, remember, it was not just our temple. From BC Galathilendu, we have had a lot of Buddhist viharas. Just like Nalanda and Takshashila, Kanchi was supposed to be a repository of education. So there are many stories of scholars from across the world coming and taking tutelage from Kanchipuram. So this is the Sthala Puranam. So she came down to Kanchipuram, and out of earth she fashioned a lingam and started doing puja to it. Now once the Shiva lingam is installed, it was installed under a mango tree, which reference is seen in this kriti, Makanda Mulakandam. So that is why since it's constructed of earth, water is not much used in the Abhishekam. So Shiva wanted to test this. So he sent Gangai from his matted locks to disrupt the puja or disrupt her penance. So Ambal is all powerful. We have had a lecture by Sri Ram to prove that. So it's not that she could easily be controlled by just Gangai flowing by the side. So she created one form of herself called Pralaya Bandhini, and she said, okay, please control that flow of water. And there are pictures of her hugging the lingam. Originally I thought it was to save herself, so that she doesn't get washed away. But actually it was to protect the lingam that she did that. And she protected the lingam and therefore passed the test. So the shrine of Pralaya Bandhini is also in that temple. She was again suggested this, the journey of these element related temples is also the journey of Parvathy, because from here she went to Tiruvannamalai and did her puja there. Specifically that will come later. Now we shall look at the beauty of this kriti. I said that Makanda Mula, that is under the mango tree, and wherever there is a reference, there is always a reference to earth. Samrajya Prada Charanaravindam. Dikshidhar also takes care to give the Kshetra Mudra. And Kanchipuram. Maya Kanchi Sadanam. So that is where he gives the Kshetra Mudra. But Kanchi is also the ornament. So Manikyamaya Kanchi Sadanam is a pun on the word Kanchi. Similarly, he uses the Raga Mudra as Bhairavi. Again, one interesting note on that was because he had cursed Ambal, therefore she must have been quite disturbed. So Bhairava is the disturbed form or the angry form. So Bhairavi, probably the selection of the name could indicate that. So apart from the Ekambara temple, Ekambareshwara, there are other instances of the Shivanadiyargal. There is a story of Sundarar who came to Ekambareshwar and regained this. Actually, he lost eyesight of both his eyes at Tiruvuttur, and as he was walking, he was given a stick by Lord Shiva to walk around, and then he walked to Ekambareshwar, and it is said that he regained his eyesight at this temple. Apart from Ekambareshwara, there are Nariya Padal Petrattanangal. One of this Tirukachi Metrali. This place is very special, where it is said that Mahavishnu heard the Devaram sung by Jnana Sambandar, and adu kettu appadiye urugi avare Shivalingam aitaram. So that is why he is called Oda Urugishar. So that is a temple where it's a Padal Petrathalam, where this incident has happened, where he got so emotional after hearing Sambandar Devaram that he became a lingam himself. It is also the Mukti Sthalam for Ayyadikal, Kadavar Kon, Tirukuripu Tonda and Shakya Nayanar. Each one of them has a story behind them. Tirukuripu Tondar was one of the Nayan market who was a washerman, and his job was to wash clothes, obviously, but he used to do it with a lot of devotion to those who were Shivanadiyargal. So any person who was coming along the road, unga dress kuduthurunga appdinu kette, used to wash it and obviously give it back. So Shiva wanted to test this, and he came in the form of a very old man with very dirty clothes. Obviously, as per his usual habit, he says, நான் வந்து உங்கள் துணிகள் எல்லாம் வாஷ், எனக்கு அதுதான் தெரியும், அதை வாஷ் பண்ணுறேன் அப்படின்ட்டு. ஆனால் ஒரே கண்டிஷன், நாளைக்கு காலையில் கூட அது யூ மஸ்ட் கிவ் இட் டு மீ ட்ரை, ஏன்னா இது ஒன்று தான் இருக்குது எனக்கு அப்படின்ட்டு. ஸோ இவர் வந்து சரி சரின்னு ஒத்துட்டார். ஏன்னா இட் வாஸ் குவைட் பிரைட் அட் தட் டைம். ஆஸ் ப்ரீடிக்டபிள், லார்ட் சிவா காஸ்ட் ரெயின் டு ஃபால். எவ்ரிதிங் இஸ் he tests his devotees everywhere. ஸோ ரெயின் வந்து அது துணியே காயலை, இவர் என்ன பண்ணணும்னு தெரியல. ஸோ he started hitting his head on that washing stone. ஒரு சிவனடியாக இருக்கு, என்னால் இது பண்ண முடியல, இந்த சின்ன இது கூட தொண்டு கூட செய்ய முடியலையே அப்படின்னு he started hitting his head on the washing stone, and he got mukti because Lord Shiva came in the form, revealed himself and said, okay, moksha for you. Likewise, Sakyan Nayanar. Sakyan Nayanar was another person who's, we have different forms of archana. Yeah. Most of us use flowers, right? Our man used stones. He was actually a Buddhist, but somehow he was attracted towards Lord Shiva, so much so that one day, while in his deep meditation, he picked up a stone and threw it on the linga. Then Shivan accepted even that. There was no objection. So he thought, why not I continue this? And so he kept throwing stones. And one day, he forgot to do so. He was terribly hungry. And then story goes that even despite his hunger, he walked all the way to the place of worship and gave his offering of a stone. And then Lord Shiva blessed him. All these stories find place in a song by Gopala Krishna Bharatiyar. Can you do that line?
கல்லால் ஒருவன் நடுக்க உடல் பதைக்க தந்தை தாயிருந்தால் உலகத்தில் உமகிந்த தாழ்வெல்லாம் வருமோயா. கல்லால் ஒருவன் நடிக்க, கல்லால் ஒருவன் அடிக்க உடல் பதைக்க, கல்லால் ஒருவன் நடிக்க.
And likewise, there are other references. Sundarar has also visited and prayed at the temple called Kachi Anekadangavadam. And there is a song that he has composed there. It's a Padal Petratalam in Kanchipuram.
குங்குனுழைத்தன வண்டரை கொன்றையும் கங்கையும் திங்களும் சூடுசடை. கொங்குனுழைத்தன வண்டரை கொன்றையும் கங்கையும் திங்களும் சூடுசடை. மங்குனுழை மலை மங்கை மங்கை கருஷை. சங்கு குழைச்செவி கொண்ட வெத்திரவாயவியார் தழல் போலுடைத்தம். அங்கை அழுத்திகள் கையரிடம் கலி கச்சியரே கதம் காவதமே. தண்டமுடை தரு மந்த மறைந்த மறை செய்யும் வந்துயர் தீர்க்குமிதம். பிண்டமுடை பிகவி தலை நின்று நினைப்பவர் ஆகையை நீ குனிதம். கண்டமுடை கருநஞ்சை நுகர்ந்த பிரானதிடம் கடல் ஏறு கடந்து அண்டமுடை பெருமானதிடம் கலி கச்சியனே கதம் காவதமே. அண்டமுடை பெருமானதிடம் கலி கச்சியனே கதம் காவதமே.
There was one more Nayanar, Kadavarkon Nayanar, who was a king. But then he gave up all his belongings and went to various kshetrams, singing the praise of the Lord, and his compositions or his songs, his padalgal, the kshetra kovai venpan peru adula oru paattu. It finds place in the 11th Tirumurai.
என்னெஞ்சே உன்னை இறந்தும் உரைக்கின்றேன், என்னெஞ்சே உன்னை இறந்தும் உரைக்கின்றேன், கண்ணன் செய்வாயில் காலத்தால் வண்ணன் செய் மாகம்பத்தானை உரித்தானை, மாகம்பத்தானை உரித்தானை வன் கச்சியே கம்பத்தானை இறைஞ்சி, வன் கச்சியே கம்பத்தானை இறைஞ்சு.
இதெல்லாம் பாடல்கள். புலவர் வைத்தியலிங்கம் வந்து, I asked him a very relevant question. அதாவது we did that serial called பன்னிசை வித்தகர்கள். அதில் நிறைய பாடல்கள், தேவாரங்கள், ஈவன் சங்க காலத்துலேருந்தும் we sang a few songs. So I asked him, இதெல்லாம் கர்நாடக இசையிலே இல்லையே, are these to be sung or are they just poetry to be recited? He was very clear. He said, இதெல்லாம் பாடல்கள், they were being sung, they have been sung. Whether they are being sung today by different performers is a different thing. But these all have been sung. So because this Nayanar has visited all the temples singing in the praise of the Lord, and his songs find a place in the various temples. We'll now move on to the next element, water. Appu. The place is Thiruanekka, and Thiruanekka is just almost now part of Tiruchi. Just 20 years back when I spoke, it was out of Tiruchi. Now it is part of Tiruchi. So, and those days I believe there was a forest. And those days again, I believe there were elephants also there. That's why it's called Thiruanekka. Water, as you know, is the elixir of life. In fact, it is an indicator of that there is life. Before we search for whether there is life in any place, we first search if there is water. Mars la water irukka appdin thedi da we think of whether to search for any. So water is the elixir of life, and in all our activities from birth to death, water is involved. We all know that. So this temple is in an island on the Kaveri river, and true to its name, dedicated to the element water, this temple is fed. The lingam is there is water coming up, seeping from a subterranean passage from the Kaveri, which ebbs and rises based on the flow in the river. But the point is that water is part and parcel of the temple, with priests even doing the pujas standing in water. There is a Sivapuranam, quite similar to the earlier one also, where it's said that in Kailasa, Parvathy giggled, she laughed. And once again, Shiva got enraged and said, okay, for this pariharam you must go to Thiruanekka. And she went to, there is also a story of Rishi Jambukeshwarar, who was a Rishi who had the Jambu tree or a white fruit saptuto. He went to Kailasa gave to Shiva, who accepted it, but gave him the seed. So the Rishi had the seed, came back to Tiruvannakaval, and seed molachi, it grew out of his head. So that is the Sthala Puranam. So under that there was this lingam which Parvathy made out of water and started doing her pujas, daily ablutions. Lot of Rama has done puja at this temple to absolve himself of the killing of Kumbhakarna. This temple has stories of how the temple came up also, because there are influence of the Chola, Pandya and the Nayaka contributions. And maybe we'll sing the song and then we will talk about the story. Okay. The song is Jambu Pate, Yamuna Kalyani. Jambu Pate Mam Pahi Nijananda Amrita Bodha Dehi Sruti la paathelna, there is reference to water almost everywhere. Tapo, Shamana, Ambudi, ocean, Ganga, Kaveri, Yamuna, Sindhu, and also there is a reference of Akhilandeshwari in, whereas the previous song you didn't get Kamakshi, whereas here you get Akhilandeshwari Ramana. Parvataja could have called her by any other name, but Parvata is snow. So again, snow is water. So Elame, so beautifully he has conceived this song. Samajata is the forest, elephant forest. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there are 5 types of Samadhi. Swadila, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So there are reference to various aspects of our history as well as about the temple here. Now back to the story. There were 2 Shivaganas, Malyavan and Pushpadanta, who were constantly fighting in Kailasa. So Shiva couldn't know what to do. And as usual, you know what is the punishment? I don't know why that is, but anyway, you can make heaven on earth also, but still. The punishment is go to earth. And they were born as an elephant and a spider, respectively. But they were Shivaganas. They were essentially worshipping Lord Shiva. So even in this temple, they had their own forms of worship. So the elephant used to bring water from the Kaveri and do Abhishekam. And the spider wanted to avoid leaves falling on the lingam, so it built a canopy. So every day the elephant used to come, he'll find the canopy, remove the canopy, again do Abhishekam. Spider next day build it. Like this went on for some days. Elephant got irritated. So he said, so again they quarreled. What they did in Kailasha, they didn't stop. Essentially they quarreled here also. But with a difference, that the spider got into the trunk of the elephant and killed the elephant. Now, obviously, if one of them dies, they get moksha. So the elephant got moksha. Spider also just missed it because he should have got moksha, but Shiva said, no, you killed one of my Shivaganas. No, you have to pay the pariharam for that. So the pariharam is you will be born as a human being. So probably a lesser curse anyway. So he was born as Kochengat Chodan, a king who was one of the Nayanmargal. And his eyes were red. And why was his eyes red? Because the astrologers predicted his father Shubhadevan and his mother Kamalavati that this child, if it is born a little later, it'll rule the world. So the story goes that Kamalavati, his mother, decided to suspend herself from the ceiling in order to avoid delivering the child too early. So apparently she delivered the child with red eyes. She looked at the child, Kochanga Choda Avidinjulli, she passed. This boy grew up as King Kochanga Chodan, and he is credited to have built many what are called Medai Kovilgal along the banks of the river. The Mada Kovilgal are built in such a fashion that they are at a height. Now why are they built at a height? It's because Kochanga Chodan did not forget that he is enmity with the elephants. So, no elephant will come into my temples that I build. So the story goes that he built many temples, about 70 temples along the banks of these rivers. But the story goes that none of these temples, even a small elephant cannot enter these temples, including Tirunakava. Sannidhikulla mudiyadhu. So this Nayanmar, this Kochanga Chodan, was absorbed as one of the 63, and so much so that Thirumangai Alvar has sung a song about him.
ஒரு பாசுரத்துல எல்லா அந்த பதிகம் 10 பாடல்லையுமே அவரோட மென்ஷன் பண்ணியிருப்பார். எழில் மாடம் 70 செய்து உலகம் ஆண்ட திருக்குலத்துவளச் சோழன் சேர்ந்து கோயில் திருநாரையூர் மணிமாடம் சேர்மீன்களே. அந்த நாரையூர் கோயிலை வந்து அவர் கட்டினது தான். ஸோ அந்த அவர் பாடின பாசுரம் எல்லா பதிகத்துலேயுமே அவர் கடைசி அந்த 2 லைனில் கோச்செங்கனான் கட்டின அந்த திருநாரையூர் கோயிலை எல்லாரும் வாங்கோ போய் சேரலாம் அப்படின்னு வந்து அவர் சொல்லியிருக்கார். திருக்குலத்துவளச் சோழன் சேர்ந்து கோயில் திருநாரையூர் மணிமாடம் சேர்மீன்களே அப்படின்னு சொல்லியிருக்கார். அம்பரமும் பெருநிலனும் திசைகள் 8 அலைகடலும் குலவரையும் உண்ட கண்டன் கொம்பமுறும் வடமரத்தினிலை மேல் பள்ளி கூடினான் இலை பள்ளி கூடினான் திருவடியே கூடிகிற்பி வம்ப விழும் செண்பகத்தின் வாசம் உண்டு மணிவண்டு வகுளத்தின் மலர் மேல் வைகு செம்பியன் கோச்செங்கனான் சேர்ந்த கோயில் செம்பியன் கோச்செங்கனான் சேர்ந்த கோயில் திரு நாரையூர் மணிமாடம் சேர்மின்களே மணிமாடம் சேர்மின்களே.
ஞான சம்பந்தரும் பாடியிருக்கார். அம்பரமும் பெருநிலமும் வானைக்காவில் வெண்மதி அப்படின்னு ஒரு பதிகம் பாடியிருக்கார். We'll move on to the next element. திரு அண்ணாமலை. அண்ணாமலை ஏன் பேர் வந்ததுன்னா, not what we are all thinking. அண்ணா நாடு, அந்த ஏரியா ஃபுல்லா it used to be called அண்ணா நாடு. அண்ணா means that which cannot be achieved or reached. So அது அந்த குறித்து அந்த திருவண்ணாமலை அப்படின்னு பேர் வந்திருக்கு. Arunachaleshwara is very unique. The temple is as sacred as the mountain. That is in this is something that no other kshetram as a mountain has so much importance other than Kailasa. So where the mountain itself is as sacred as the deity, the mountain itself is thought of as a Shivalingam, possessing all those divine powers. And another thing is the circumambulation. அது சுற்றி அது பிரதக்ஷணம் பண்ணுறதும் கைலாசமும் உண்டு. They have this similarity. But despite that, it is not called as Dakshina Kailasam. This is a similarity. But if you go into, I mean, there was a tradition that even you go into the town of Tirunnamalai Tiruvannamalai, you are not supposed to wear slippers. The temple is supposed to go right down. We don't know where it springs out of. So, out of respect to the ground surrounding the temple also, people do not wear slippers. Of course, we all know that it is Kartike Deepam is one of the major festivals held there. In some other places, there is still some controversy. So, fire has always been part of our worship. Not just our worship, many tribal practices, Rome, Greece and other ancient practices, everyone considered fire as a form of worship. And whatever you put into the fire, it takes. So that is another aspect of the worship. So the presiding deity is Agni. He is described as two-headed, 7 arms and 3 legs. I don't know why. But anyway, Agni is depicted as such, and he also has this, as one of his hands he holds the Homagundam and the ladle irkliya. That is one of his things in his hands. So fire sacrifices are known, and from ancient period also this kshetram is very, very well known, because there is a place called Chennai, which is 30-40 kilometers from Tiruvannamalai, where there have been Nannan Sei Nannan, Appadinu oru Mannan was there. He has controlled that area, and there is also another temple there called Parvathy. So that whole area, we are not talking just Tiruvannamalai itself, but that whole area dates back to the Sangam period, as well as it's extremely, extremely holy. That whole place is very holy, and they say, no, Smarichale Poram, Tiruvannamalai. And the slogame irukku. Darshanam pandradhukku Chidambaram. Darshanada Abhrasadsi Jananad Kamalalaye. That is Tiruvarur. There is also a thought that Tiruvarur is an earth, Prithvi Lingam. Kashyantu Maranan Mukti and Smaranad Arunachale. You think of Arunachaleshwarar, you get Mukti. So all devotees do the circumambulation. Dikshidhar, again, we rely on Dikshidhar. Sriram's infection has caught on to me. Because எங்க வாத்தியார் சொல்லி கொடுத்தது அப்படி சொல்லி கொடுத்துருக்கா. அருணாச்சல This Kriti is quite special because Ra, this is an information Vijay Shiva told me, that Ra denotes Agni, and in this Kriti, Sarangamnu varumbodhu Arunachala Ra nu varudhu, so nariya varudhu, Smaranat Kaivalya Prada Charanara Aravindam Tarunaditya Kodi. So Ra occurs so often, he even counted it 32 times in this Kriti, and that denotes Agni. So many beauties in this Kriti which are hidden. Like Sarangam we think is the Raga Mudra, but Karadhrita Sarangam, it means you look at the deity in Tiruvannamalai, there is this antelope which is facing him, that deer facing him. So Karadhrita Sarangam, Sarangam means deer. Another meaning is elephant, but here it is deer. So Sarangam did not happen by chance. Karadhrita Sarangam. Another interesting thing which he mentioned was, okay, to deviate slightly, there is something called World Repetitive Injury Day, called RSI, Repetitive Stress Injury. I don't know if you all know. Repetitive stress injury means injury caused due to repetitive movements. And World Repetitive Stress Injury Day is observed on February 29th, the day which does not repeat. Okay, அதே மாதிரி தான் நினைக்கிறேன். Saranga Ragam does not extend above Gandharam, Tara Gandharam, and does not just you touch and come down. அதே மாதிரி does not go below Mandara Nishadam. It is that sort of a ragam. Now, why did Dikshidhar select Saranga? One, he wanted to also show the closeness of Saranga with Yamuna Dandini. They share the same Arohanam, but so different in approach. That's first. But the Sivapuranam also adds to the selection of Saranga, and that is that Brahma and Vishnu had their own debate, who was more superior. So they went to the mediator, Lord Shiva. Poor Shiva has had a lot of mediation to be done. So this was mediation between Brahma and Vishnu. So Shiva thought for a while and wanted to say how to resolve this dispute, because two people are not Shivaganas, they are big people. So he said, okay, he converted himself a column of fire. So among you two, whoever is superior, we will decide based on you go up or down to see the end of wherever I am, and then based on that you decide whoever is superior. So this was acceptable to Brahma and Vishnu. So Brahma took his Hamsa, the swan, went right up. He went up and up and up and up. One therilla, stratosphere, ionosphere, all sphere lam paathachu, one varla. So on the way he saw that oru thalambu falling from the hair of Shiva. Probably many of these stories you know. Anyway, for those who are new to these stories, avalukku irukkum. So thalambu vandu vilundhudan. So he made a secret pact with thalambu. Okay, you tell that I came up to you and plucked you from the hair. So that means I have seen the top. Yeah. He came down. Vishnu took the Rahavadara, went down, but he couldn't reach below. So he came up back to Shiva and said, sorry, I couldn't see where you were. Where your lower, lowest part of the column theriyala. Enna kalam theriyala, ketta kalam da, I could not see it below. So he accepted defeat. But Brahma said, okay, see, I proved that I have Tazhambu Katnar. Shiva knew that both were things, so he said, Brahma, you will be guarding the northern side of all my kshetrams, and Tazhambuta you will not be used in pujas. I mean, these are all rituals that are being followed. So, except I think on Mahashivratri, one of those velais, Tazhambu alone is used. Otherwise, Tazhambu is not used for Shiva Puja. Appadine oru aidiham. But the reference is also there in Thevaram. Sorry, Tiruvambavai. I stand corrected. This is composed, Tiruvambavai is composed by Manikavasakar in Tiruvannamalai. He says, Adiyum Antamum Illa.
Adiyum Antamum Illa Arum Perum Sodiyam Pada Keteyum Vartadankan Madevala
Manikavasakar has described the story, or rather the reference to this story in his Tiruvambavai. Also there is a Vananai, Abdin Kiravanila, there is a Thevaram by Appar.
Vananai Madisudiyamai
So these are not just Devarams, they are songs that can be sung in concerts. The point is that a lot of these songs need to be unearthed. They are very rich in content as well as in the prosody and other aspects. I also mentioned that Ambal came from Kanchipuram to Annamalai, and that is where Lord Shiva gave the same darshan that he gave to Brahma and Vishnu, the column of fire. The column of fire, incidentally, geologists have analyzed the rock samples around that and found that it's volcanic rock. So the point is that maybe that particular column of fire must have been a part of that huge event that happened long back. So Lord Shiva absorbed her into him, and as Ardhanarishwara went back to Kailasa. Of course, there are stories of Arunagirinathar where the Murugan is called as Ilayanar, younger brother. So Gopuratti Ilayanar, there is a story of where Arunagirinathar jumped and was saved by Lord Muruga, Atkondadu, Lanjolra. But I am not singing the Tirupugal because this is essentially Sivapuranam. But Tiruvannamalai is also very, very sacred in terms of attracting these great saints as well as people who wish to stay there, like Ramana Maharshi. Or so many, you go to Tiruvannamalai, you will see several Madangal, several Siddhargal are said to stay there, are said to be there, and it's a very, very sacred place. And also there was an instance where there was a king who told Arunagirinathar, okay, show me where is your Murugan, and there is one Kambat Ilayanar, from where Murugan came out of a pillar and danced for the audience. We move on to the fourth element, and that is Vayu, wind. See, here also we had the Ambal pair in the Sarangala. Avita Kujamba Sametam. Adhe mari inga Jnana Prasunambikanu Ambal pair. So we'll sing the song of Dikshita. Sri Kalahastisha Hussaini Ragam, composed by Muthuswami Dikshita. Vayu Lingam. Again, very close to Chennai.
Sri Kalahastisha Shridhajanavana Samira Shri 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 Kalahastisha Shridhajanavana Samira Karamambahi Rajamule Yehi Shri Kalahastisha Shridhajanavana Samira Karamambahi Rajamule Samira Karamambahi Rajamule Samira Karamambahi Rajamule Samira Karamambahi Makari Viri Hari Pranamaya Kosha Makari Viri Hari Pranamaya Kosha Makari Viri Hari Pranamaya Kosha Nilakasha Bhumi Salilagni Prakasha Shiva Makari Viri Hari Pranamaya Kosha Nilakasha
That doesn't leave anything to chance. It's very clear. முதல்ல ஸ்ரீகாளஹஸ்தீஷ யாரை பற்றி பேசுகிறோம்? சமீராகார வாயு. We are talking about the wind. யார் who is his consort? ஞானபரசூனாம்பிகா பதே. எங்கே இருக்கோம்? தட்சிண கைலாசம். இதுக்கெல்லாம் கதைகள் இருக்கு. Does not happen by chance. For example, Sri Kalahasti, அதுக்கே கதைகள் இருக்கு. Sri is the name of a weaver who was born as a spider and was commissioned by Lord Shiva to go to Kalahasti, and his offering to Lord Shiva was to build a canopy around the lingam, quite similar to the story in Tiranakava. Kala was the snake. Again, a Shiva Bhakta who wanted to adorn his Ishta Devata with gems, and he knows that the Naga, the snakes, are in possession of all these gems. So he was born as a snake and used to collect from the river bed all the gems and adorn the lingam. Kasti is the Yana. So even there was an elephant which used to do Abhishekam from the river there. So the deity, the place Sri Kalahasti itself has its own names and Sivapuranam. So well, the message I got from this is that Shiva accepts offerings from anybody, whether it is an animal, a spider, a reptile, or an elephant. It doesn't matter. So there is also sage Agastya who has done penance here. Ambal has come here, and Jnana Prasunambika, she has The shrine is there. The lingam has 4 phases. Okay, there was a story also about Vayu. Lord Vayu meditated on Shiva and he said, go to Kalahasti, and Vayu went to Kalahasti and formed the lingam made of camphor. Okay, and the Chaturmukha lingam. There are 4 phases and supposed to be a 5th phase also. Shiva has 5 phases. The finds the reference in the Sadhyojatam Prabhadyami Sadhyojataya Vai Namo Namaha Bhave Bhave Nadi Bhaves Bhavaswamam Bhavod Bhavaya Namaha. That is Sadhyojatam. Vamadevaya Namo Jyeshtaya Namo Shrestaya Namaha Rudraya Namaha Kalaya Namaha Kalavikiranaya Namo Palaya Namo Balabhrahmadanaya Namo Sarva Bhudatamnaya Namo Manonmanaya. This is Vamadeva, another phase of Shiva. These 5 phases of Lord Shiva are relevant because in Nada Tanamanism, Sadhyojadati, adilende in the 5 phases lende Swarangal vandadinu Tyagaraja Swami has given a reference. So the Chaturmukha lingam here is the Vayu lingam, and there is also the story of Vayu being present even in the Sanctum Sanctorum, where other candles, many lamps are there, but 2 candles alone will be flickering. The other, the flames do not flicker. So this is the story of Kalahasti. Of course, there are songs composed. Shambhu Makha. Shambho Magadeva Sharanam Shri Kalati Shambho. Then in the 4th century, there was a hunter, Tinnan or Tinnadu, who, the story is very famous. He used to offer meat as his offering, and the Kalasama Vechindu, Sambandar has mentioned that Kalasama Vechindu, he used to spit out the water as Abhishekam, the only way he could worship. And his love, the priest was doing the puja was so surprised, so much of meat and so much dirt on the lingam. But Shiva said, okay, just look at the devotion, the love this person has for me. And then there's supposed to have been a the earthquake, and then Shiva's eyes start bleeding and Kannapanayanar. I mean, later on he became Kannapanayanar. This hunter put his foot on the idol and then removed his own eye and placed. This story is well known and documented. This has happened at Kalahasti. The references are there even in Dikshitar's Kriti.
Jnana Guru Guha Satchidanandamaya Murtehina Jadi Kiratakena Pujita Kirte.
Hina Jati Kiratakena depicts the hunter. And again, Jnana has been used twice. Jnana Guru Guhan Aprama Varadu. This is because Jnana Prasunambika illiya. So Jnana Prasunambika is Modala Varadu. Aprama Jnana Guru Guhan Varadu. Why? Because the only 2 people who have fed out of the goddess's milk, one is Subramanya, another is Jnana Sambandha. So everything has some meaning in Dikshitar's Kritis. We'll move on to the last Kshetra, Chidambaram.
ஞான சம்பந்த தேவாரம் சாதாரிப்பண் வானவர்கள் தானவர்கள். வானவர்கள் தானவர்கள் வாதை படவந்ததொரு மாகடவிடம் தானமுது செய்தருள் புரிந்த சிவனேவு மலை தன்னை வினவில் ஏனம் இனமானினோடு கிள்ளி தினை கொள்
exam write the anatomy of the human body in half an hour கேட்குற மாதிரி இருக்குது. Essay question you can keep on writing இல்லையா? Anatomy of the thyroid gland னா எதாவது எழுதலாம். Anatomy of the human body ன்னு சொல்கிற மாதிரி இருக்குது சிவபுராணம். So I have confined myself to these kshetrams, and even that seems to be consuming a lot of time. So we move on to the Akasha Lingam, that is Chidambara Kshetram, where a Maharishi called Madhyantana Rishi, who was a resident of Thillaivanam, the outskirts. If you go to Chidambaram, you will see a lot of Thillai forests, Pichavaram and the area. We have done some camps also there. So anga vandu he prayed to the Lord for a child, and he is blessed with a boy called Vyagrapada, who incidentally wants to pray to Lord Shiva by offering very freshly plucked flowers from the top of the trees. Na flower பறிக்கிறது மட்டும் இல்லை, but it has to be fresh and should be plucked early dawn from the top of the trees. So he couldn't climb. So that's why he was blessed with சொல்றது விட he was given a pair of or the tiger like feet, the Vyagrapadar ன்னு சொல்லி அதுதான் பேர் வந்தது, where he used to climb the trees before dawn and pluck the flowers, and then he was told to wait because another Maharishi was supposed to come, Patanjali. Now wherever you see Natarajar, you will see these two rishis also, and Vyagrapadar goes on to install another Shivalingam, which is Yavaneshwara appadinu oru lingam, and again close to the main temple there, and he waited for the Chidambara Darshanam, and later the Lord blessed him and Patanjali Muni with his Ananda Tandavam. So this is the place where the Lord danced his celestial dance in the Sabai there, Chit Sabai, and that is the beginning of the song of Dikshitar's beautiful song in Kedaram. பாட்டும் ரெண்டு தடவை பாடுற they are singing only once.
சீதாம் சுகங்காதரம் நீலகந்தரம் ஸ்ரீகேதாராதி க்ஷேத்ர ஆதாரம் துதேசம் சார்தூலசமாபரம் சிதம்பரம் தேசம் சார்தூலசமாபரம் சிதம்பரம் பூசுராதி சகஸ்ரமுனீஸ்வரம் விஸ்வேஸ்வரம் பூசுராதி சகஸ்ரமுனீஸ்வரம் விஸ்வேஸ்வரம் நவநீத ஹிருதயம் சதயகுருகுலதாதமாத்யம் வேதவேதம் வீதராகிணம் அப்ரமேயாத்வைத பிரதிபாத்யம் சங்கீதவாத்ய வினோதகாண்டவஜாத பகுதர பேத சோத்யம் சங்கீதவாத்ய வினோதகாண்டவஜாத பகுதர பேத சோத்யம் பாணினி சதகதமுத சனினி சம்தரித சமகமபுரணி மகத ஜமுத கமகமமபஜானினி தஜம் தரி பாமகத திங்கிண தொந்த ஜம் தரி பாமகத திங்கிண தொந்த ஜம் தரி பாமகத திங்கிண தொந்த நடன பிரகாஷம் சிதவேஷம் ஆஸ்ரயாமி சிவகாமி கலீஷம்
கோவில்னாலே சிதம்பரம் தான். When we say Kovil, for all the Shaiva agamas, for all the Shaiva practices, Kovil அப்படின்னா சிதம்பரம். Because it is such a punya sthalam, that was where the first இந்த தேவாரங்கள் எல்லாம் கண்டுபிடிச்சது ராஜராஜ சோழன் டயத்தில் நம்பியாண்டார் நம்பி மூலமாக கிடைச்சது. Again, there's a place where many Nayanmars have attained mukti, including Manikyavachakar. His Tiruvachakam was actually said to have been written by the Lord under his own command. நீ இப்படி பாடின்னு இருக்கே, யாருக்கு ஃபியூச்சருக்கு யார் எழுதுவா அப்படின்னு சொல்லி he wrote the Tiruvachakam and commanded all the Brahmins of the temple to come the next day. And when they saw the book, they asked Manikyavachakar, யார் எழுதுனது? And Manikyavachakar pointed out to the Lord and merged. So this is the Mukti Sthalam for many Nayanmargal, including Kuturuva Nayanar, who was a king, who was a great lover of Lord Shiva, but for some reason he couldn't get anointed. He could not get crowned. So none of the Brahmins there were prepared to do the rituals needed for adorning him. So Lord Shiva came, placed the crown on his head and made him king. So it's also the place where Shekidar's Srivapuranam was first staged. Tirunalai Povar, you can't talk about Sidambaram without mentioning Tirunalai Povar Nandanar Charitram. All of us know the story and how Gopala Krishna Bharati immortalized this some 200-250 years ago through his Nandanar Charitram, the opera. And it has always been the religious capital of the Cholas, and there are so many stories, Darukavanam, the stories of the rishis and so on. So King Rajaraja Cholan himself became known as the Tirumurai Kanda Cholan because of the scripts that were found in this place. And we all know how the Tirumurais were codified later on. And so for some reason, when we say God, you'll always say God above. God is all pervading. But for some reason, in all faiths, not just ours, Swami, abhin paathu meladam paapom. Correct? So that is why Akasha Lingam does not mean the sky, it's even beyond. It's ether. Nothing. So from that nothing came all these elements, starting from Vayu and Apu and Agni and later on Prithvi. So whatever is the sequence, the point is that the starting point was always ether, and it is said that every yugam, at the end of every yugam there is a pralayam, and in reverse it goes and gets absorbed into ether to start the next yugam all over again. This is part of our belief systems, and which is why I was able to spend part of this, it's almost afternoon, so this morning and little of today's afternoon with all of you. I must thank all of you for not only waiting, patiently listening to this, but for giving me this opportunity to read so much about the kritis which anyway I would have sung in concerts. Or kacheri paadi in the paatala paadilla, but the references, getting to know more about this beautiful art and the way these, and also listening to Gayatri yesterday, Sudha yesterday and Shriram today. These opportunities you don't get often. So please listen, please appreciate. Thank you very much. Okay. On popular request, or Tillana on Lord Chidambaram by my Guru Shankara Iyer. Because it's the dance place, we have to sing a Tillana. I've been over justification. Pardon.
Tadirana tanahirana deem. Tadirana tanahirana deem. Dirana dillana. Tadirana tanahirana deem. Dirana dillana. Tanadirana deem. Dirana dillana.
Sa